tell you the truth, I was gonna wait until this arc ended before I began commentating on it, but with these last few chapters, it's given me more than enough to praise and to take issue with. I put up a poll on my Twitter asking you guys if you were enjoying how this arc was playing out, and the vast majority of you seemed to like it. The comment section, however, was rife with debate and discussion between both sides. So let me know what you think here on YouTube, click above. But what have people been arguing about? Well, for the last 8 months from where Dragon Ball Super Broly's movie left off, Toyotaro's manga continued the story of Dragon Ball for all of us fans to faithfully follow in a brand new, never-before-seen saga. It introduces new characters, interesting stakes, and powers, all the while reintroducing elements that made older fans like myself smile with nostalgia. However, with that said, the last few chapters have injected a lot of questionable elements that I really wanted to address today. So, let's dive into Dragon Ball Super's new material. The new Galactic Patrol saga from Akira Toriyama and Toyotaro. It's time to take a look at Moro, the villainous eater of worlds, and his troubled chapters. Right off the bat, before I dive into the issues I have with this arc, I want to make known that I found this section much easier to read than others in the past, and it's injected quite a few elements into the story that I've enjoyed, or at the very least found interesting. I love the concept of Moro. Not necessarily from a visual perspective, at the moment I am more concerned with what his character offers the story and the action of this battle shonen. The trouble Dragon Ball's found itself in is that in order to create believable tension between characters, in the past it's needed to create villains that much stronger than the last, which becomes quite tiresome and formulaic after a short period of time. Moro flips this trend on its head. Instead of the power they've garnered over the course of the series being used to overcome the villain, in this story it's actually a disadvantage to them. As a result, whenever Goku and Vegeta come into contact with Moro, we genuinely don't know what they can do to overcome him because everything they've relied on in the past to get the job done is literally fueling their foe, with it taking everything they've got to survive. And not in a contrived way either, in a very believable way, simply because of how Moro's designed as a character. He essentially removes the "I just gotta punch him harder" mantra that has clung to Dragon Ball's story like a parasite since Z. It's a wonderful concept that serves the story well, I think. Moro as a character, however, isn't much to write home about. He's pretty much King Piccolo, but on a cosmic scale. With that said, however, because they lean into this massive sense of scope and scale, it makes him much more intimidating. Now, I don't dislike him, I just don't think from a personality point of view he's very interesting. Where Frieza would have had me turning each page wondering what he might say next, I find myself more often than not waiting for Moro to stop talking. That said, I will wait until the story ends before I dive into his character properly, but for now, he seems sort of vapid. Furthermore, on the writing front, I've heard a lot of folks criticize the beginning of this arc based purely on it not dealing with stakes as higher as the prior one. This is an issue Dragon Ball Z introduced by constantly upping the ante with each subsequent arc. Protect your family, protect the earth, protect the universe and the heavens. I genuinely think that's a losing formula even from a pacing perspective. There's this expression that you can't appreciate the light without the dark. In other words, everything needs peaks and valleys in order to generate the desired emotional reaction. We can't always be at a 10 out of 10 hype. It needs to build up to that. If we are constantly pushing the ceiling up and up and up all the time, then eventually we become desensitized to what is at stake. That is, if we haven't already. My point is, the stakes or scope of a particular story only matters as much as the emotional resonance we have for the characters involved. For instance, if Toei created a villain that would instantly erase all of Goku's friends, that would be just as emotionally devastating as someone destroying the universe. Simply put, one death is a tragedy, 1 million deaths is a statistic. When the stakes become absurdly high, it starts to become increasingly more difficult to appreciate the scope of the consequences. Simply throwing more at the situation isn't good storytelling. So, this Galactic Patrol arc deciding to focus on the internal conflict of the Namekian people and Vegeta, I greatly appreciated, because now I have something to root for. I genuinely enjoy the notion that Vegeta feels tremendous remorse for his past actions on Namek, resulting in his character feeling compelled to go above and beyond for these people in danger. This is a wonderful, fresh, and believable story for Vegeta to partake in, and I'm here for it. I've also seen people upset that the Namekian savior or fused Namekian warrior was taken down so easily by Moro. Personally, I don't see this as an issue in the slightest. In the Tournament of Power, such beings already existed in Universe 6. Additionally, in Chapter 45, they already had a large portion of their energy stolen. To suggest Moro is capable of what he did against the Namekian warrior isn't really a tough pill to swallow when you consider that even when he was unhealthy, he was still going toe-to-toe against a Super Saiyan god. And not even all the Namekians were involved in that fusion. In fact, now that I think about it, I'd go as far as to say that if they did stand a chance against him, it would be incredibly inconsistent. However, that is just a minor gripe people have had. Now, onto bigger criticisms. Another big gripe people seem to have with the story is Merus' ability to outmaneuver a Super Saiyan 3 Goku. This leads to a host of questions about his abilities and how they formed, which, as of writing this video, has not been explained.
I have several questions.
Naturally, this leads all of us to think, surely he could have helped with Frieza, or Cell, or Buu. It is established in Chapter 43 that he's not hiding his power, but is incredibly agile and quick. This was while Goku and Vegeta were in their base states. This didn't bother anyone as far as I can remember. However, if you put Merus in a one-on-one situation where Goku is actively trying a substantial amount, Merus' abilities seem like much more of a character contrivance than an actual character trait. And what I mean by that is, due to the absurd power achieved through tremendous effort throughout the series, Goku and his friends have been recognized time and time again, even by the gods, as being exceptional individuals for achieving the power they have. For Merus to appear with these abilities without any explanation seems unreasonable for an audience to unanimously accept. Given how power and speed correlated in Dragon Ball and even Dragon Ball Super, when Merus suggests that he can't stand against Moro, it comes across as more of a plot convenience than a believable thing to happen within the story for this character. Especially when you consider that characters in the past, even if they were primarily quick, always had overwhelming power to correlate. Even if you take extreme examples like Dragon Ball Super's Dispo, whose entire gimmick was that he was incredibly quick, he still possessed the ability to utilize that speed in order to outmatch much stronger opponents like Frieza. All in all, it just seems incredibly contrived that Merus can teach Goku Ultra Instinct and outmaneuver Super Saiyan 3 in ways that people like Whis can't. However, the most egregious and glaring example of bad writing in this story so far surfaced in Chapter 50, when Moro revealed his third wish. Towards the end of the 48th chapter, 3 wishes are granted to Moro and his companion. The first, restore Cranberry to perfect health. The second, restore Moro to his full power. And the third is kept secret. This made Moro much more interesting to me, not just because of his power, but also because I enjoy the idea of a villain that held his cards close to his chest, one that would have a great plan on a cosmic scale, and because he had his ego in check, didn't feel the need to monologue his plan away to the audience and heroes, organically creating tension while carving out his own unique identity. That's why this cliffhanger worked so well when it dropped for me. The idea that a villain had made a wish with the Dragon Balls but didn't let us know what that wish was is exactly the kind of surprise I'd live for in storytelling. So much so that I was surprised something like this hadn't already been attempted before in Dragon Ball. It's so simple, yet so effective. I love this writing technique as it's a wonderful way to build tension. The best example of this I can think of can be seen with Attack on Titan's Key to the Basement. With Eren's basement key and Moro's third wish, the writer is making a promise to us, the audience, that whatever is revealed will be worth it and change everything. For this technique to be successful, it needs to create the aha moment when it's revealed. The viewers must think, of course, that makes so much sense now, fueling the story with a freshness only a satisfying, well thought out reveal can provide. Needless to say, I was excited to see what was in store for me. The rest of the chapter went on by, teasing the third wish. The entire next chapter proceeds on by, it's teased again. As these months pass on by, we the audience are left to speculate at what creative and unpredictable wish Moro might have made and what ramifications it might have in store for the story moving forward. Then, Chapter 50 drops. For whatever reason, for some incomprehensible, inconceivable, nonsensical reason, Moro decided to release all the prisoners from the galactic prison. He could have wished for anything, and he decided to do that. Let me tell you why this bothers me. This wasn't a surprise. There was no aha moment. At no point were we led to believe that Moro valued anyone other than himself. At no point could we ever have guessed that it was going to be planned this way. And that's the trick of the secret box in creative writing. In Attack on Titan, it's possible to figure out that what is inside the basement, and when it's revealed, it changes our perspective on the entire story. The only reason we don't guess what's inside the basement is because of the clever storytelling that builds up to that moment. Again, it creates an expectation and subverts that in a very satisfying way. Dragon Ball didn't build any tension, it didn't create any expectation, and it subverted nothing. It just sort of happened. Why did it need to be a surprise? Attack on Titan's basement scene is satisfying because it makes complete sense. It doesn't contradict anything and gives us answers in an enormously satisfying way all at once. Because Moro's third wish seems almost random, with no foreshadowing or meaning behind it, we are faced with a hugely unsatisfying conclusion to the surprise. It's kinda like your parents telling you that you have this big surprise to look forward to for Christmas in October, and then when 2 months pass by, it's Christmas morning and you open a box to find socks. The mundanity and lifelessness of this wish made the occasion worse than before the wish was even made. If this had not been framed in such a secretive, mysterious way, I bet no one would have even batted an eyelash. But instead, it was used to build fake tension. I see a lot of people praising this as a great way to get other characters involved like Piccolo, Gohan, and Tenshinhan. But frankly, I don't care what the outcome of a bad surprise is. If it's a bad surprise that has an upside for other characters, then it shouldn't have been a surprise in the first place. It should have just been delivered straight. There was no need for this to be a mystery at all, and only served to disappoint a large portion of the audience. With all of that said, however, I think this arc has more good than bad to offer the series. The only reason the bad stands out so prominently in this arc falls onto how these moments are written into it. Bad writing contrivances can slip through the cracks if they are handled with subtle care, but all the major issues people have with this story are such because the story so prominently displays them for all to see. I love the concept of a character like Moro, despite his somewhat bland character motivation. I love that characters like Buu and Vegeta are featured so prominently in the story in a very believable and natural way. I'm happy that Namek made a comeback and forced Toyotaro to ease up on his use of grey tones, and even his paneling is clearer in places. And not so much in many others, but I'll take what I can get. I want to dive deeper into this story later on, taking an in-depth look at Moro's character specifically. However, I'm gonna wait until the story is complete before I do that. The Galactic Patrol saga is interesting. It has its ups and its downs, and despite having quite a few troubled chapters, I think it's still a fun ride. Thanks for watching.